Because we are hearing that our next guest is now ready to speak to us, and barely a month after a minister in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's cabinet was compelled to resign his position as a result of a certificate forgery scandal, history seems to be on the verge of repeating itself. Now, this follows an order by the Federal High Court in Abuja seeking the prosecution of Minister of State for Labour and Employment Nkeruka Onyejeocha, who is in the firing seat for falsification of election results during the 2023 general election. Now, presiding judge Mohammed Umar, in a ruling dated September 23rd, 2025, said that he was satisfied that Amobi Oga, a member of the House of Representatives, provided sufficient material evidence to justify his request for the court's intervention. Now, by the way, Oga contested the election in question with the minister and won. Now, for a conversation on the salient issues arising from this development, we are now being joined by Valentine Offia, who is a lawyer, here to bring this all home for us. Good morning to you, Mr. Offia. Thank you for joining us. This is, as we said in the introduction, a story that does trigger a lot of emotions, because if we are talking about Nigeria moving away from these awful stereotypes of us being people who are ones who normalize corruption and forgery, this second story, it just feels as though it's the second time we're talking about this as a national conversation. It doesn't do well against those stereotypes. What do you think about what we're hearing here about this new accusation of forgery?
Well, under normal circumstances, this what's going on now should actually be routine. You see, a lot of us know when we think about INEC, we just think that work ends when they declare the results of the election. But the Electoral Act gives them powers to prosecute all manner of electoral infractions, which includes if anybody declares or tenders false election results. Now, up to this moment, we have not seen INEC enforce their powers under that Electoral Act. So this particular case gives them the opportunity to show the nation what they can do. From what I understand, the allegation is that the current Minister of State for Labour, she went to the tribunal, the Election Petition Tribunal, and tendered results that were forged. That is the allegation. Those allegations, of course, must be investigated and proven to be true or false in a court of law. However, there are other interesting aspects to this case. For instance, her lawyer at the Election Tribunal is the current Attorney General of the Federation. And when the gentleman in question, that's the Mr. Amobi, raised some protests, some protests against his opponents then, the Federal Minister of Justice filed charges premised on criminal defamation against Mr. Amobi. Now, the attorney to the current Minister of State for Labour was the attorney. The attorney to the current Minister of Labour is now the Attorney General of Federation who filed the charges. So, and that raises the question here. Are we mixing up public functions with personal interest? Which may or may not be true, but then when you have a situation such as this, it calls to question whether all things are right or whether there are issues of partiality And since justice must be seen to be fair, well, we have to investigate. That's my own suggestion.
Definitely. Now, I think we should focus on not just this specific case, but also everything that has been going on when it comes to President Bola Tinubu's cabinet. Because the question must be asked is there a crisis of credibility when it comes to the cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Now, if we saw previously the resignation of the minister then of Science and Technology, Uche Naji, under allegations of fraud for an NYSC certificate and for a university degree. There have been allegations when it comes to NYSC certificate as well for the Minister of Interior, Onyejeocha. We've also seen allegations when it comes to NYSC as well for the Minister of Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa. Now, I believe she actually served her NYSC as a minister, but I don't know. I think I missed her call out or her sign out event. But now we're talking about allegations of fraud when it comes to our election, saying that the allegation here is that the Minister of State for Labour, the former member of the House of Representatives, Onyejeocha, forged election results so as to try and get an election tribunal to overturn an election, the election of Honorable Amobi Oga. That is a very significant issue. This is not just allegations of fraud in front of the Senate, but it comes to the integrity of our elections and the integrity of our democracy. Now, we have a new chairman of INEC in Joash Amupiton. You said that the INEC has chosen not to use some of these powers in the past, particularly against sitting members of government, whether they be elected or appointed. How significant, how important is it for this new INEC chairman, Joash Amupiton, Professor Amupiton, to come out and, as the court has ordered, the Federal High Court has ordered, investigate and prosecute a sitting minister of state? Is that one possible? And also, two, how significant is it that this is a crime that has a punishment of a jail term of up to 3 years, I believe?
What's important here is this. We always make a lot of noise about credible election, achieving credible elections. However, it seems that INEC always stops at the point of declaring results, and then they pack their bags and go home and overlook all infractions that occurred during the election. Now, this case has thrown up an opportunity to revisit that status quo. I'm not interested in the status of the alleged offender. I'm not even saying it's true or it is false. What is important is INEC should utilize the opportunity and show the nation that indeed they can prosecute, they can first of all investigate alleged infractions. And then, depending on the outcome of the investigation, they can take the next necessary step. And that's what I believe they should do in this instance.
Of course, those investigations...
Do you believe they will?
Yes.
Do I believe they will? From what I understand, what I've heard you report, what I've read in the press, is that there is, the courts has stepped in to say INEC should do that. And that removes the issue of discretion from the matter. We are now talking about adherence to any existing court order. So they should.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Now, I just wanted to know, from the way that you've spoken so far in this conversation, it almost, I wouldn't want to assume, but I would think that there is an almost lack of confidence in the fact that INEC can actually do what you believe that they need to do. Now, this fatigue, this, I don't know what to call it, almost some form of analysis paralysis, what would you attribute it to? Well,
first of all, let me correct the impression that I didn't convey any impression that INEC would not do what they are supposed to do. I said in the past, we don't have many cases in our jurisprudence of INEC having actually prosecuted electoral offenders. But I said now we have a new helmsman, like you mentioned, and I said, and then we have a court order, as reported, issued, and they said they should investigate this particular infraction. And so there's no question of whether they should or they would or wouldn't. They just have to do it.
I mean, is there the appetite, though? I think that brings us to the introductory piece here, where we're seeing so many more examples of people in highly respected positions of public service constantly being berated with these accusations of impropriety, of a lack of honesty when it comes to making sure that their qualifications, their requirements are met. So when we are talking about addressing this issue, what do you think needs to be done? Surely I would imagine that you think that there needs to be a proper example of how someone who behaves in this way is brought to book so that it can serve as deterrent. Do you think that there is actually appetite for someone being actually put to accountability? We speak so much about accountability in this country, and these are perfect examples of how these individuals can be made accountable for their actions. Do you think that, even if we're going back to the conversation about then Minister Naji, do you think he should be prosecuted, as so many different voices are saying?
Well, first of all, I restrain myself from commenting on cases that I do not have personal knowledge about. But I have to tell you this, as a legal practitioner, if you take time to visit the courts, sit through these court sessions, you will find cases where both the police or whatever investigating agency and the judiciary, they are handling cases of forgery against all manner of persons, both high and low. So let me first correct that impression that in Nigeria as of today, highly placed people or lowly placed people are not being prosecuted for forgery. That is not true. All I'm saying is that in this, what's peculiar about the case at hand is that it is an electoral matter. You may have cases of, credentials, educational qualifications, and so on and so forth. But I believe that this one is peculiar because it relates to the credibility of our elections and of INEC as an institution. And so when we talk about should INEC, where someone has alleged that INEC results were forged and tendered during court proceedings, should INEC investigate and find out if that's actually true, and if true, how it was procured, whether it was forged by the person, or whether INEC staff, unscrupulous INEC staff aided that. If true. The question is they must. Because if they don't, then what they are conveying to the nation is that the next election, anybody can forge their results and do whatever you like with them, and then life goes on.
So do you believe that, do you believe that this offense or alleged offense of forging election results, do you believe it's enough to make a minister resign or step down or be fired? She was not given the seat. Honorable Amobi Oga is currently in the House of Representatives and she's not. Is that enough punishment, or you believe that this has reached a level where if you're facing such a serious charge, such as forgery of election results, that you should be stepped down from the president's cabinet?
I'm not the minister. I will allow the minister to decide what he or she wants to do.
And how do you feel about the president keeping her in the cabinet while facing such charges in the public?
Again, I'm not the president. For me, as a citizen of Nigeria observing whatever is going on or reading the reports, what I'm interested in is to see that the institution, an institution such as INEC, where should step in and do what they should do, especially if a court has ordered them to do so.
All right. Mr. Valentine, Offia, thank you so much for your insight and for your time with us on the morning show. Well, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you all for watching. It's been a great one. I'm Kachi Offia. Adesua, how are you?
I'm good. I feel like we're the Powerpuff Girls today. It's been a fantastic, chaotic 2 hours. But thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. I am Adesua Giwel-Sage.
And I'm Adefemi Akisoya from our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria, and over in Abuja too. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Bye-bye.